New York Mayor Eric Adams announced this week that he will be implementing a new program so that New Yorkers can hear news and announcements directly from him instead of getting a, quote, distorted version from the media. And New York City taxpayers get to pay for it. Lucky them.
This comes as Adams' tough-on-crime approach faces mounting scrutiny. For example, the city's subway crime rose by 30% in 2022 from a year ago, outpacing the 22% jump in major crime across the city during the same period. This is according to police data released this week. The increase comes despite the deployment of thousands of additional police patrols in the transit system.
All right, Eric Adams won on big promises to fund the police harder and staff the subway up with a policeman on every car. He has done that, and crime has gone up, not just compared to the crime rates in New York City, but compared to national rates. What's the answer, Robby? Do we just throw more money at the police and also give the mayor a direct line to the public's ear so that he can do his own propaganda campaign?
It sounds like you're going to be the very first subscriber to the Daily Adams. All Eric Adams news, all Eric Adams time.
I'm such a masochist. I probably would listen to it the same way that I listen to so many liberal shows for content.
Sounds very cringy. Yeah, I mean, it's a obviously cringy look for political figures to want to. I mean, political figures disseminating their own news is almost by definition propaganda.
Yes.
So, great.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
I love when political figures. Oh, it's too critical. I'm. How dare you scrutinize me? I'm just gonna. I'm gonna do it myself. Honestly, it is a tactic more political figures on the right are using because, many of them can probably fairly and credibly argue that the coverage they get is so relentlessly negative and so relentlessly biased that they've said to hell with it, why engage with the mainstream media at all? We'll just and we can use social media to go around them.
Exactly.
DeSantis is a very, very big booster of this approach.
Bernie did it with his fireside chats. I don't have a problem with the idea of politicians speaking directly to the public at all. The idea of who pays for it, I think, is a question, whether or not they come at taxpayers' expense.
Nope.
Right. However, my bigger problem with this is that it seems to be emblematic of Eric Adams' character from the jump, which is that he has been a mayor that's known for being out of the nightclub scene, going to every hot party, being in the line at all of the major swanky events in New York City, a mainstay at Cipriani's. He is someone who clearly has an interest in elevating his own public profile through this position, and historically that comes at the consequence of actually delivering meaningfully for the people. Is this just another vanity project for a mayor that seemed to be more interested in his personal brand than actually improving life for New Yorkers?
Yes. you phrase that as a question, but I think the answer is yes. The subway issue, which has gotten so much attention, clearly not under control yet. I don't know why that is. Both he and Governor Hochul have actually talked a lot about doing something about crime.
Yep.
It's not working. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I don't know. I think that there are people who study these things very hard and have longitudinal data, and they could probably tell you about what
those people all disagree on what to do about it, and they have data to marshal in both directions.
I don't believe. My understanding was that there were zero experts, or close to zero experts, who said that the issue was that we needed to have more police officers standing around at the turnstiles in the subways the way that we have. He's done what he promised to do. I just want to be really clear. Eric Adams delivered on his promises. It is a wall-to-wall police officers in the New York subway system. And yet, crime rates have gone up. I mean, there was a viral video, I don't know if we can pull it up in time for this segment, but there was a viral video going around that everyone was laughing at, New York City subway system. Someone had fallen onto the tracks, and a bunch of Good Samaritans were helping them off. And the police officer, who was there, because there's always a police officer there now in the subway in New York City, was just kind of standing there with a flashlight impotently, lighting the scene. And the people around were kind of heckling him because it was so clear how impotent he was when New Yorkers were handling their business and getting the job done and saving this New Yorker on the tracks. So look, I am not, obviously I'm not the crime analyst for New York City. I'm sure there's a whole mix of factors, including ongoing poverty rates, the economic crisis that the poor have not come out of, extreme cost of living issues in New York that are going to lead to higher levels of homelessness and crime. These are the things that have always caused crime since time immemorial. I wouldn't be surprised if that's continuing to happen in a city like New York, where the impacts of economic crises tend to be felt more harshly because it's a more expensive place to live. But what we know for a fact is increasing police funding and staffing more police on the tracks hasn't done the job. Maybe we need another 2 years of even more police funding and paying for more overtime for police officers to stand around and play Pokemon Go on their phones or whatever people are playing these days.
Pokemon Go arrest the people sleeping on the subway.
Well, look, but that's also not the issue. The crime issue and the homelessness issue are not the same issue, and I think too often treating them as though they are is why the actual crime issue isn't getting resolved.
What do you mean? They're closely correlated. They're closely linked, aren't they?
No, if a homelessness issue is a poverty issue, and sometimes crime is also a poverty issue, but the idea that keeping people from sleeping on the tracks is keeping people from robbing people in the subway, those are not the same cohorts of people. There's a mental illness problem, there's a poverty problem, and then there's this separate crime problem.
My understanding is that a large proportion of the people homeless, staying on the subway, are experiencing drug issues or mental health issues,
sure,
which overlapping with criminal issues at a very staggering rate. A person not going through mental illness or severe drug addiction just happened to be sleeping on the subway. I don't think that's that common.
But I agree with you. So it's a mental illness problem. It's a drug addiction problem. It's all of these kinds of problems. And I regret to inform everybody that as much as police officers can try their best, and I'm sure there's many lovely people among them, they are not equipped to resolve a mental health crisis that started in the 1970s when we shut down all of our mental health institutions and stopped funding them altogether. And there were problems with those as well. I don't mean to brush that history under the rug.
I think shutting down the mental health institutions was a big mistake. I've said that. I think that was a huge mistake. I don't think leaving these people out in the street or on the subway is the humane thing to do. I know there used to be a lot of issues with, they're being medicalized or it's like Nazi experiments or something in mental health institutes. I think a lot of that was frankly exaggerated.
One flew over the cuckoo nest.
I love that book as a kid. I absolutely love that book.
Oh, you've read it?
I loved it. It really affected my thinking about these issues, and I read it in high school. I still love the book. I think it probably wrongly stated what was going on in mental health hospitals.
Well, I think that I think the abuses. It's like this feedback mechanism, right? You start defunding the hospitals, the conditions decline at the hospitals, and the conditions are so bad at the hospitals that people want them shut down, and it's like a chicken and the egg scenario. So look, maybe what you can do is call in to the Eric Adams Story Hour, call-in show, whatever it is, and have a back and forth about what mental health, drug addiction, anti-poverty programs they could spend the money on that is currently going to pay overtime for cops to hold the flashlight while New Yorkers handle their own business. I'm sorry, I gotta love New Yorkers.
That's not helping.
I was back in town in New York for the first time in a long time over New Year's, and I was reminded of how wonderful the city is. God, I miss New York.
You're saying that sincerely?
I'm 100% saying it sincerely. New Yorker through and through. I don't care how long I live in a swamp town.
I am a DC over New York, absolutely, till the end of time.
All right, Michigan boy. No pride in your home state?
Michigan?
Yeah.
It's too cold there. It's too cold in New York as well. I mean, it's too cold here. It's too cold everywhere. I want to live on the equator somewhere.
All right, we'll do the state wars in a later day, in a later segment. We'll have more Rising for you after this.